also means it's Wednesdays with Lupica, and the great daily news columnist and best-selling author joins us right now. Mike, it's Michael, Don, and Peter. How you doing?
Good afternoon, gentlemen. How are you doing today?
We're doing great. You've seen a lot of sports in your life. Have you ever seen anything like what Judge is doing?
No. I called Elias the other day and asked him, we've all been seeing what this 100-game stretch was like statistically, over 375, over 45 homers, over 100 RBI. The only time it ever happened in baseball history over a 100-game stretch was Bonds in 2001, and that's not even worth being part of this conversation. He has been, since the end of April, the best hitter I've ever seen. Best hitter I've ever seen, the most dangerous hitter I've ever seen. I was emailing with one of my heroes today, the great Gay Talese, Michael, and he was saying the most shocking thing that he's seen in the Yankee season so far was Judge hitting into that double play with the bases loaded last night.
Now, one of the things that we've argued about back and forth over the last couple of days, his standing in Yankee history. Does it decrease if he never wins a ring?
No, it doesn't decrease, Michael, but it won't be where it belongs. And because ultimately, Reggie used to talk about it before the math changed in baseball sometimes, that you're hired to win 11 games in October. And that's when we still expected the Yankees to win those 11 games in October, which is something they have not done in 15 years. But for his Yankee resume and what we think of as the Yankee brand for the greatest players to be what it ought to be, he's got to. And again, he can't control it.
Right.
He's got to be in the World Series at least once.
But like you just said, it's baseball. Now, I think what's hurt him, he's a .211 hitter so far in the postseason in his career. So his numbers certainly can be better. But like this year, they've got a team that can win a championship. What if he goes off in the postseason and they still lose? What if his numbers over the next 8 years are stellar in the postseason, but they lose for this reason, that reason, and the other reason? Can he then get up from it because he can at least have the stats to back it up?
Well, Don, I don't think he's underneath it, and obviously there's a lot of the story still to be written. The hole in his resume right now is his postseason resume. Stanton's been a better hitter in the postseason for the Yankees since he got here. I mean, it's easy to check up. Okay, all I'm saying is for this young man to be remembered the way he ought to be remembered as a Yankee. And again, he's having far better years and far better numbers than my favorite Yankee of all, Don Mattingly, did. But we don't want, we've talked about this on other Wednesdays. We don't want him to get a lot deeper into his career and start to risk not having made the series the way Donnie never did.
All right, we were talking earlier today about another New York home run hitter. If you're running the Mets, Mike, are you bringing back Pete Alonso for what could be, Boris is going to ask for an outrageous amount of money, so would you bring him back?
Yeah, I would bring him back. And, Michael, I'm not sure that Boros is going to ask for an unreasonable amount of money. Right, to this point, I wrote a column about Pete. I love Pete Alonso. I love his heart. I love his character. I love his talent, okay? And I want all good things to happen to him. But he's costing himself some money this season. And he's not having a horrible season. He's just not having a polar bear season. I mean, I looked it up the other day, and Stanton has a few more home runs in, 40 fewer games than Alonso has played this season. There's like 2 pages of guys who have 20 or more home runs in the big leagues this season. His comps right now, I'd have to look it up. I haven't looked it up in a few days, are like Naylor's for the Cleveland Guardians. If he had been dangerous all year long, and I keep, we all keep, Donnie and I, one week when you were here, Michael, we talked about it. He can carry a team for a month. Well, if he's going to carry him for a month, September would be a good month for him to do it because so far, by his standards, this has been an extremely quiet year for him. And, he's going to have some stuff working against him. It's the position he plays. He's about to be 30 years old. All of that stuff. I thought he'd go out and have a monster year. He's simply not having a monster year.
Now, I'm a Met fan. You know that. And I had my whole Ed Kranepool rant based on they don't have very many forever Mets. Even they lost Seaver twice. Strawberry left to go to the Dodgers. David Wright was robbed of a great last 5 years of his career because of his bad back. So am I wrong to think, you know what, I want to go maybe a little extra just to be able to have that guy to be able to put up stellar numbers for the New York Mets for his entire career and have a forever Met. And in a non-cap sport, even though there are restrictions to paying a lot of money, Mike, it's not football, it's not a hard cap. Would it be wrong for me as a Met fan to root for them to maybe go a little bit extra on him?
Yeah, I know. I have no problem with that. I want him to stay, Don. I mean, if you're a Met fan, here's what you're hoping for. And I had a column about this on Sunday about Soto. You picture Soto hitting in front of Pete next year the way Soto's hitting in front of Judge this year, because the overriding question, there's two overriding questions of this Yankee season right now, okay? One is Judge finally going to make it to the World Series? And the other one is Juan Soto going to stay or is he going to go? And the Yankees, the boogeyman for the Yankees, and anybody who has talked to anybody with the Yankees know this, is Steve Cohen. Because it's going to be very interesting to see when the time comes what kind of opening offer Hal makes for this guy. Is $500 million enough? Is $600 million enough? Knowing that there's a guy across town for whom money is no object. Cohen is the boogeyman here. I don't see how he cannot go after Soto. And we're going to find out just how much Juan Soto likes being a Yankee, likes hitting in front of the guy who's the greatest player in baseball right now. But more than that, and I'll ask Michael this. Michael, does he like it enough that he'd be willing to leave $100 million on the table?
I think he loves it, and I think he loves the relationship he has with the fans. He's not leaving anything on the table. When you have Scott Boras as your agent, there's a reason you have him as your agent. When you leave $440 million on the table on a team that you loved, that you came up through the system, the Nationals, you won a championship, and you walked away from $440, it's not going to be, gee, he loves hitting in front of Judge. It's just not, Mike. It's going to be about the money. If the Yankees offer him the most money, I'll give you this, Mike. If they're close, I think he chooses the Yankees. But if it's not close, I'm not going to leave money on the table. He's just not.
And I'm going to throw, Mike, and Mike and Don Peter, let me throw another name at you, okay? There's Shohei Ohtani wants to win. There's a reason why he constructed his contract the way he did with the Dodgers. Don't count the Dodgers out of this, okay? Because right now they're not paying Ohtani all that much. They got to pay him a ton in 10 years. But don't think that they're not going to be a player in this too. And there's people who even think that the Nationals might get back into play. But the question is, in a world where Ohtani, even if a lot of it was deferred, just got $700 million, what is the number going to be for Juan Soto, who's younger? He's 4 years younger, I think, than Ohtani is. He's 6 years younger than Aaron Judge is, and Judge has got $360 million. This is going to be, I said to a friend of mine who's a Yankee fan yesterday, this has a chance to be the most compelling October that the Yankees have had in so long I can't remember. Certainly since the days when they were the greatest team, the baddest men on the planet. It's going to be an extremely compelling October, because we're going to find out whether they're just another Yankee team built for April through September, or they're one that can get to the end of October. And then the even more compelling story is going to be what happens with Juan Soto, and whether or not even them getting to the Canyon of Heroes is going to affect his thinking.
Yeah, it's funny because they could get to the Canyon of Heroes. They could win the World Championship. They're 28th. And then 2 weeks later, he could take an offer from another team, and your heart's ripped out. Now, you could also not get to the Canyon of Heroes and then sign him to a 15-year deal, and all of a sudden you're euphoric. So what happens in November is going to have a big impact on the type of winter the Yankees and their fans are going to have.
Mike, they did the absolute right thing. You could only imagine what this season would look like if they had not made the trade for Juan Soto. There's no way to tell whether Judge is doing everything he's doing, whether they have on occasion looked like this incredible powerhouse, other than that 133 game stretch. But they always knew that they were deferring the greatest drama in the world for another year. In that sense, they just kicked the can down the road for a year. And if they win the World Series, let me say this. If they win the World Series and he leaves, I still think it will have been worth it that they made the trade.
Staying here but moving somewhere else. I'm curious about this. We keep having this conversation about championships, Mike, and what they mean to a player's legacy. Just like Don asked you, or Michael asked you, I should say, about Judge and a championship and how he'll be viewed. In which sport do you think the championship can most appropriately be used as a measurement to one's greatness?
You know what? I think I want to say basketball, because in a five-man sport, one surpassing player having a Judge-like basketball season can impact his team's season even more than Aaron Judge is impacting. Football, yes, quarterback, except most of the greatest quarterbacks have won at least one title. I mean, Marino is a glaring exception, okay? And there's plenty of quarterbacks who have won who are not even in that conversation. But I tend to lean towards basketball. But a football quarterback, if Mahomes had never won, I mean, that's a ridiculous proposition, seeing what he's doing, because I think he might end up winning as many Super Bowls as Brady did. But Josh, look at the pressure that Josh Allen, who's great, is under. Okay, and look at what that day against the Chiefs. He scored with 13 seconds left,
13
or something like that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and look at how what happened next is informing the way that people look at this kid. Okay, and is Eli a better football player than Josh Allen? No, in the whole grand scheme of things, no. But Eli's got two, and Josh Allen is still working on number one.
How's the book doing before we let you go?
It's doing fine, Michael. We've had such fun with this. I just finished the final edits. Jim and I both finished the final edits for Jane Smith 3, which we call Never Say Die, and it'll be out late next summer. And because we never close, Michael, the firm of Patterson and Lupica has already finished their 2026 book. So it's you can see that we have an awful lot of fun working together.
When are you headed to the Open?
I am not going to go to the Open because when I was watching them talk about the heat alert today, and I was sitting in my living room, I said, you know what? I think I feel a lot better than some of these tennis players do. No, I love the Open. I was still going to the Open when it was at Forest Hills. I will watch it passionately. The kid Alcaraz has gotten me jazzed about tennis all over again in a way I wasn't sure I was ever going to be again. And I'll tell you something else. I put this in my Sunday column, and I know we got to go. I am so hopeful, whether it's Francis Tiafoe or Ben Shelton or Tommy Paul or Taylor Fritz, if an American man could somehow be in the final in a week and a half, that would be the best possible U.S. Open for me, because it's just been too damn long for an American man to compete for our country's national championship.
Even as we watch them lose in straight sets to Alcaraz, it would still be amazing to see them get there.
Yeah, no, it's listen, who would have ever thought in 10 million years that when Andy Roddick won his Open over 20 years ago, that no American man would do it? It's a crazy proposition, especially in the time of the Williams sisters and especially Serena and Coco and everything, with what we've seen from American women tennis players. I want one guy to make a run.
Good stuff, Mike. We'll talk to you next week. We appreciate it.
Thanks, man.
Have a great Labor Day weekend, guys.
You
too.
too.